Welcome. My name is Alexis Flowers, and I am the Director of Programs here at the Network of Enlightened Women, also known as NEW. Our mission at NEW is to educate, equip, and empower young women to be principled leaders for a free society. As part of our programming this year, we've hosted discussions with some of the women who have been elected or newly elected or re-elected to Congress as part of our Meet the Members series. Today, I am honored to be joined by Congresswoman Debbie Lesko, who represents Arizona's 8th Congressional District. In May 2018, Congresswoman Lesko was sworn into the U.S. House of Representatives after winning a special election and was re-elected recently to her second full term. She served in the Arizona legislature for 9 years, the last 3 of which were in the Arizona State Senate. Thank you so much for joining us today, Congresswoman.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited for the questions.
Yes, we're excited to have you, and we'll just jump right in. So after your time serving in the Arizona legislature, what inspired you to run for Congress?
It's kind of funny. I was at a conference, not in Arizona. It was ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, which is a group of conservative thinking state legislators from all over the country that get together. And the CEO of ALEC, Lisa Nelson, who's a wonderful lady, she heard that Trent Franks unexpectedly resigned, and she encouraged me to jump in and run. And I thought about it for about 2 weeks, because there were some people that had jumped in that I had served with in the Arizona State Senate. And ultimately, I decided that if I didn't try it, I was going to regret it the rest of my life. And so I ran. I beat 11 guys in the Republican primary, and then beat a Democrat. And then I had another election, had to beat another Republican in August of that year, and then the same Democrat in November. So I had 4 elections in 2018. It was a busy year.
Very busy, but that's wonderful that another woman encouraged you to run. We've been hearing that a lot of times, as women in general, conservative women though, for sure, need to be asked multiple times to step into these roles. Was that the case for you, whether for Congress or for your initial run to the state legislature?
Well, I really had to think about it, because being a member of Congress is different than a state legislator, right? A state legislator, I lived about 30 minutes away from the state capitol, and I could be with my family and drive into work. Here, you fly in and you're away from your family for could be weeks, at a time. And so it's more of a commitment away from your family. Now, fortunately, it was the right time of my life for me. All of my kids are grown up, they're adults. I have 5 grandkids now. So I'm able to handle it. I have to give credit to all of the young men and women who are in Congress that are away from their families. And, it's difficult. It's a difficult job to balance family with your work.
Absolutely. Yes, that's something that we hear from a lot of our students and young professionals, questions about balancing that. Do you have any advice, or have you heard any good feedback from those with young kiddos who are serving in Congress of how they do that, how they make that balance?
Well, I guess it's just like any other job. If the spouse travels a lot, you have to make sure that you take time out for your family. So when I fly back during the weekends, I make a point of seeing all of my kids, if possible, all of my grandkids, and my 93-year-old mother. So, and the constituents, right? So usually I'm always busy. I'm always busy all the time. I'm either in Washington, D.C., or I'm back in Arizona in my district and going to meetings. Like today, I'll be going to a Salvation Army toy drive, which will be fun, handing out toys to children. And I'm just always busy, but I always make time for my family.
Yes, that's so important. Family is definitely important. That's wonderful to hear that you prioritize that when you're home. Speaking of priorities, what are some of your legislative priorities and policy priorities as we're looking ahead to the next 118th Congress?
Well, Arizona is a border state, so I've been to the border. Hold on a second, I apologize. I've been to the border multiple times. Hold on. I've been to the border multiple times and talked to the Border Patrol officers personally, and their morale is very low. And we need to do a better job of securing the border. Unfortunately, the Biden administration, I assume, wants open borders because all of their policies lead to an open border. Even though Secretary of Department of Homeland Security Mayorkas said the border is secure, that is totally not accurate. Even reporters that interview the illegal immigrants coming across the border say, "What do you mean it's closed? I just crossed it. It's wide open." So I have a border security legislation that I will propose again in the new Congress, since now we have a Republican majority. I believe border security will be one of the top issues that Republicans want to address in the next coming Congress. I'm also on the Energy and Commerce Committee, which has the broadest jurisdiction of any other committee in Congress. So in addition to energy and all interstate and foreign commerce, it also deals with healthcare, which includes the CDC, FDA, and Medicare and Medicaid. It also includes big tech, so all technology, all telecommunications. So in that committee, I'm very interested in energy issues, and I will be pursuing legislation that will unleash American-produced energy. For whatever reason, the Biden administration has an all-out war against American-made oil and gas, and yet he turns to other countries, often foreign and hostile countries, to produce more oil and gas so that our gasoline prices go down. This is absolutely ridiculous. Why would you rely on other hostile countries like Venezuela, or go to OPEC, which includes Russia, and ask and beg for more oil production when we can produce it right here in the United States, which we were doing under the previous Trump administration. So that's a big issue. And so those are probably the two top issues that I will be focusing on. Of course, there's a lot of different issues. I'll probably be on the Oversight Committee, which is a subcommittee of Energy and Commerce, where we will investigate the origins of COVID-19. It seems like there's more and more information coming out that it did occur in the Wuhan lab in China, and that it was probably accidentally released, although we don't know for sure if it was accidental or not. So I think we're going to delve into that, and also call in most likely Dr. Fauci and try to find out why he was funding an organization that funded the Wuhan lab that ultimately we believe leaked COVID-19 and killed thousands of people in America.
Yes, well, wow, you have quite an ambitious agenda, lots of work to do, especially on energy and commerce.
Yes.
I did see from your bio that you were co-chair of the Congressional Women in STEM Caucus, and I thought that was interesting. Is there anything that you're currently working on, or that you have colleagues working on, that would be supportive of more women entering STEM?
Well, I think it's important that women enter those fields of science, technology, engineering, and math. And more women are. We had an event when I was co-chair. We went down to Kennedy Space Center down in Florida, and at the time looked at the Artemis rockets and before they launched. And so they recently launched. So I saw them up close and personal. I talked to some of the engineers there, the head of the Artemis project, where they're going to have a woman go up into space and a person of color also go up into space. And so it's exciting times that we're finally going back to the moon. And I think that they expect that in 2024, we will actually have Americans go back to the moon. And so that's exciting. It's exciting for America.
That is exciting. I bet that was incredible to see those rockets up close.
It
And
was.
I grew up in Central Florida, so I remember seeing the launches and feeling the booms when they
Yeah.
come back to Earth.
Yeah,
That's
it's exciting, and there was a lot of women that are involved in the Artemis program at the top level. So that's good to see.
yes, that's wonderful. I'm switching gears a little bit, but
Mhm.
thinking about as an organization, we promote leadership and we talk about leadership a lot with our students. Obviously, you've held many positions of leadership. What are some skill sets that you think are important for young women to develop if they want to be leaders now and in the future?
The thing that I always try to do is work hard. I try to work hard and be honest. It's very important to also network with other people and try to build a relationship, in my case, with other Congress members, whether it be on the Republican side of the aisle or the Democrat side of the aisle. I think it's important if we want strong legislation, important legislation to get approved, that you need to know, be able to go to the other Congress members and get their buy-in on it, right? And so in order to do that, just as in all careers, you need to network with people. That means talk to them. That means be friendly to them, ask them about their family life, ask them what they're doing for Christmas, whatever it is, whatever you can do. It is important because people can be the smartest people in the world, but if they don't get out their message to other people about what they're capable of doing, nobody will know about it, right? And so you have to, even if you're a shy person, you have to try to network. And one of the organizations that I went to, because I was shy at speaking. I didn't like public speaking before I went into politics. And I went to Toastmasters, which is very inexpensive, but it's a good way to improve public speaking skills, which also helps with networking, because part of Toastmasters is you had to come up with an impromptu 2-minute speech on a subject that was given to you at the last minute, and you had to start talking about it, and you also had to put in like an odd word that you had to work that into it, so you really had to think. And other members of Toastmasters had little bells, and every time you went they'd ring the bell. It was very distracting, but after a while you got used to it, and it trained you to be better. So I would suggest that, quite frankly, to anyone, whether they're good at public speaking already or not. I think it's very valuable.
I recently heard a presentation from someone talking about public speaking and how even if it's something that comes more naturally to you, it is a skill. You have to keep practicing. And Toastmasters is a great program. You got to keep practicing.
It is a skill. And another thing that I think is a skill, in which is a learned behavior, I don't think you're born with it, is dealing with controversy. It's most people take it personally. So if you're not used to it, and if you're not trained on it and experience it, if you're too shy to speak out and be upset that people aren't going to like you, then you're not going to learn the skill, right? And so I have to say, I admit, when I first started getting involved in any type of politics, it was through my children's school. I was involved in my children's school, and I was the fundraiser chairman. So everybody liked me when I was the fundraiser chairman, right? But when I started questioning how money was being spent at the school, some of the parents didn't like me. The next meeting we showed up, they ignored me, they were rude to me. And I was devastated. I was like, I remember I came home and I was crying, saying to my husband, people are saying bad things about me, but it toughened me up, right? It's all for a purpose. For a purpose, because here I'm in Congress, and now, I have tons of people. If you read my comments on social media, they say nasty things, all kinds of nasty type stuff. And, it's hardened me in a way that I can deal with it, and I don't get all personally emotional about it, or, you know, be angry about it. I just it's something you have to learn, I think. And most people do not know how to handle controversy.
That's an incredible point. And unfortunately, the internet, while there are great things about the internet has also made people more mean, I feel like, or at least able to voice their negative or kind of hostile opinions. That's something that a lot of our college students deal with, unfortunately, especially conservatives on campus. They're worried about the backlash that they might receive and the negative feedback,
Yeah.
is I
It's
guess a generous way to put it.
So my message to them, anybody that's conservative that is afraid to speak out, it all turns out, it turned out for me. And so I would speak out, and I would speak out about conservative issues, whether they were pro-life, pro-religious freedom. And boy, I remember when I was in the Arizona House of Representatives, and I introduced a piece of legislation that was pro-religious liberty. And for whatever reason, it got nationwide attention, condemnation. I was watching the NBC nightly news, and all of a sudden my bill was on there, and Planned Parenthood had put out a talking point about it that all of the media used, and it was absolutely false. It was an absolutely false narrative. And I got so many people. It was a hard time because Planned Parenthood put out my home phone number, and for nationwide, and for 2 weeks I had to disconnect my home phone because I got the most vile phone calls from people wanting to do bad things to me and saying bad things to me. And it was kind of depressing. And they would call my Arizona State House office as well. And the woman that answered the phone there, I was an upbeat person, and she became depressed because it was just hard listening to these people. They were so angry, so mean. But then I remember there was a huge group of people that came out and supported me. They all rallied and they supported me. The legislation passed. Then later, years later, the US Supreme Court ruled in favor of, my side of the legislation. And it made me stronger. It made me stronger. And I've learned just to speak the truth and what I believe in. And I get, stones, arrows, whatever you want to call it, thrown at me. And sometimes I think, oh, that's not a politically good thing to do, but it's what I believe in. And it's how it's turned out. People have reelected me, right? And so I was 9 years in the state legislature, and in May it will be 5 years in US Congress. And I just keep working that way and thinking, it's all going to turn out. And so that's what I would say to people that are afraid to speak out. You never know what's going to happen. Sometimes people that speak out and they're too scared to do it, they become like heroes of the rest of the people, and they become somebody that's really becomes a leader. It turns into something where you become a leader in that issue, and you'll have so much support that you didn't realize when you started it.
What an inspiring story. And I know that will be a source of encouragement to our students and young women listening. I do want to be respectful of time, but wanted to see if you had any book or podcast recommendations, any sort of thing that you've been reading or have read in the past that you would like to share with the women in our audience.
Well, there's a book that I read once in a while. I read it quite some time ago when I was in the school district battles about trying to learn how they were spending the money and what they were teaching and things like that. And it's called Get the Bulldog Attitude or Be Left Behind. And so it's a very short book. And every once in a while I reread it because it gives me encouragement. And it just, says, be truthful, be strong, work hard, and you'll succeed. And I like the book.
That's a great message. And it's good to have those that you can keep coming back to. that are that source of encouragement that you can keep going back to when you need it.
That's right.
Wonderful. Well, where can our students and young women find you? I'm assuming on social media, Twitter, Instagram.
Yeah, I'm on all of the social media. I'm on it's at Debbie Lesko is my unofficial
Okay.
Twitter handle, and then I'm at REPD Lesko is my official Twitter handle, and I'm also on Facebook, Instagram, Truth. Uh, I don't know,
All of
all of them. I think
them.
I'm on all of them. And so
Wonderful.
it's a way to get a hold of me. Also, my website is lesko.house.gov. I also have a weekly newsletter. If people want to sign up, they can go to my website, lesko, Lesko .house.gov, and sign up there.
Perfect. Well, we'll make sure to link to all of your social media when we post this later. But thank you so much for taking the time to share a little bit about your story and some words of encouragement with the students in our audience. We really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, thank you. And thank you for all the listeners, and good luck to you. You'll be successful in the future. Keep up your conservative values. It will pay in the end.
Great words to end on. Thank you so much. And we look forward to following you in the 118th Congress.
Thank you.